Hey guys, this is Becca with In the Mic of Madness, or actually with SOBs who love SOV. And I'm here with Slade Shepherd. Say hi, Slade.
Hello.
All right, so we are a spin-off show. So we are the facts of life to the In the Mic of Madness's different strokes. So again, notice that I picked a show that stayed successful after it had a spinoff, and a spinoff who became its own thing. I could have picked just the 10 of us in Growing Pains. Hello. Love that show, by the way. All right, so our idea with this is that we both love shot on video, low budget, the movies that nobody else rented at the video store. Is that fair enough, Slade?
They sit and collected dust for the majority of people. When people took and rented them, it was because of the covers.
Right.
It wasn't because of referrals.
And that's what we are. So the reason why I have to set that out there initially is because, yes, this is all about SOV, shot on video. But the first movie we're going to talk about was not shot on video.
No, it was not.
Because we are rebels. So today we are going to be talking about The Basement, which is a Super 8 movie. But it's all within that same realm. We figured that the fans and the people who made those movies, I know that they would argue, no, Super 8 and video are not the same thing. But to us fans, this is all the same kind of realm.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Slade and I bonded on a very large horror group of which we will not speak. I think The Basement, that set, was one of the first things that I was like, oh, gotta have. So Slade posted this. It's from a place called Camp Motion Pictures, which you're going to be hearing a lot more about in this podcast. And it is a VHS DVD set of The Basement and 5 other films, and he posted it, and I was like, I have to have it. So that's why we decided to do this movie first, because we bonded over that. And then some trailers started coming out for a book called Analog Nightmares, which is a book. It's by Richard Mogg. It's called Analog Nightmares, the shot-on-video horror films of 82 to 95. And so we both got that, and so then we just started sharing our stories. So here we go. Slade, tell us your story, why you love shot on video / low budget / video store trash movies.
Okay. Hey, folks. Well, what really got me into taking and watching shot on video or just film altogether was I grew up in rural Appalachia, and I was never the kind of kid that like to go hunting or fishing or anything like that. And I lived out in the middle of nowhere. We're talking 35 minutes to the closest town. So
outside of Walmart realm or Kmart realm at that point in time.
Walmart was even further
Yeah.
away. It's close to an hour to the local hospital. I was in the middle of nowhere. So video games and movies slowly just became a very important part of my life. I'll take it I've fond memories of the first time that my dad took and rented a VCR, brought it home, one of those huge ass top loaders, and
they had a lock on them, they were in a little case, and they had a lock, and they had to take them off, and they had a carrying handle. Yes.
Yes, couldn't afford one. Do you know? Because we were poor,
right.
Super poor, and it was a huge deal. And my father rented a whole bunch of war films. I think he got Platoon, and I wasn't allowed to watch any of it. I was supposed to go back in my room, but I could hear it in the other room, and I knew that these are movies that were just not too long ago had been on the big screen, and I'd only been to one film in the theater up until that point, and that was The Land Before Time, which ripped my fucking heart out.
Yes, and then when you hear about the little girl who was the voice actress in that movie, look it up and go cry, people. Okay, we're gonna
stop killing my childhood.
We're skittering past that one. Okay.
But when I got to be around 10 or 11 years old, I was allowed to actually go with them to the movie store and take in rent films. And my family only went there once or twice a week, and they had a deal where you could rent 5 movies for 5 days for $5. And because we didn't go back, I couldn't take and get any of the new releases because they were due back within a couple of days.
Right.
And couldn't handle and we just didn't. I had to take and mow lawns, my lawn and my grandparents' lawn, just for enough money to take and rent films. And video games. So I took and rented movies by so many movies this way. And oh God, it was pretty much all I did in my free time. And was that and read, and these movies became my escape from all the stuff that was going on in my life, because it was kind of rough growing up down there. I'm not gonna lie.
And he's come out a successful adult. So look at that, it can happen. I have a similar story. So we are the success stories of white trashdom.
But like once you start renting all these movies at a time, you start to, like, I would rent all the major releases. I'd be like, yeah, I heard about that one. Then you start getting into the full moon releases. I'd pick those up whenever they came out. And then after a while, despite it having this place was run out of a trailer. The rental store was a rundown trailer. Later on, they got a bigger store, but initially it was a rundown trailer in the middle of this town. But when they got the big store, they had a huge horror selection. They just put tons of money into it, and they had all these really cool covers like Zombie Gourmet Chef and Cannibal Campout and Video Violence, and these movies that just had amazing covers
and amazing titles. Let's not skitter past that.
Yeah, totally. And I started to rent them, and I was shocked because there's something about shot on video that really sticks with you when you take and watch it. If you kind of resonate with it, because the way that the film is, it has a different look to it. It looks like somebody's home video, so it kind of makes it a little bit more real.
And a lot of times it was people's home video cameras. I mean, I've talked about this before. Like, I mean, this was a time. I mean, we're talking like the mid 80s, whatever. I mean, I didn't own a VCR either. I didn't know anybody who had a camcorder. Only the rich kids had a camcorder. I mean, so if you could get your hands on a camera, a video camera, a VHS video camera, that was like amazing.
I wanted one so bad growing up because I had so many ideas for movies, but there was just no money for it. And I had to go in my parents' room, grab their VCR, unhook it, take it in my room and watch it, because I knew half this shit that I was renting. If my parents knew it, they trusted me to take and rent good stuff. But if they knew half the stuff that I was watching, they probably would have.
What's this Cannibal Hookers movie that you rented, Slade?
Yeah. It doesn't sound wholesome.
Okay, so Slade, you were born in 81, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I was born in 76, so I'm a little bit older than you. So my story is very similar, but just a little bit pushed back. And I grew up in a trailer in rural Indiana, so we're not even going to go there. I lived on fried bologna, and I have a decent job and disposable income to where I can buy things like the Basement box set. So again, success.
Water biscuits.
Yes. One of our side dishes we used to eat was like tomatoes with bread and sugar. Did you ever have that? Like,
I had sandwiches on hand all the time, like, because we hardly ever had bread in the house.
Oh yeah.
And my thankfully my grandparents had a garden, so we got a lot out of that.
Well, it's Indiana is where I grew up, so a lot of tomatoes. Like, you can just walk outside and people hand you tomatoes like at a certain point in time. And so we had canned tomatoes. So that was it. That was what we ate forever. It was like tomatoes with blah blah blah, tomatoes and spam, tomatoes and beans, tomatoes and bread and sugar. So interesting time, kids. Anyway, no, we did not have a VCR. And we did the same thing. We would rent a VCR, and you'd go and rent a ton of movies. And whatever you brought home was what you watched. It wasn't like it is now, like, oh, I started watching this movie on Prime, and it just sucks. So I turned it off and went and watched something else. No, you had, like, these movies, and you were going to watch them hell or high water. So when I was really young, we would do that renting thing. And it was always, like, a really exciting thing. And actually, my aunt lived out in the country, which around here is actually like the cool thing because she didn't have access to cable or anything like that. So she had one of those huge ass satellites where she had this like thick ass book where it's like, and there were probably only like 30 things on at a time, but it seemed so awesome. She had like the descrambler and everything. So it's like you go in the book and be like, oh wow, you could watch like German porn or something. I mean, that's the way it was to me, I'm sure.
Spice Channel.
Anyway, but she had a VCR, and my uncle that lived down the road from her had a VCR. And this is, we're talking like probably about the time you're a toddler. You're maybe starting to poop on the toilet. They would rent movies, and you could put two VCRs together, and you could play the movie on one and record it onto the other, and it was like super highly illegal.
Early piracy.
Early piracy that, like, back then, man, you thought, like, somebody was going to, like, the SWAT team was going to, like, come down and get you. So they had all these movies, and she had all these blank tapes, and they all had a number on them. And she had a spiral notebook, and it would have, like, number 1, and it would say 1 movie. She could usually fit about 3 movies on a blank on a blank tape, and it would say what it was. So she had this catalog essentially of all these movies, and we would go over there and be like, wow, well, I had older sisters who made very bad choices, but very good when it all comes down to it, because when I was maybe about 6, I'm gonna say 7 just to make them sound better, like I was like dragged. They had to take me to my aunt's because she had a pool. And, my older sisters, they got to drink and everything. And then we came in and we got to, like, pick movies. Well, they got to pick movies. And so the first 2 movies that I really remember watching there that I absolutely adored and have shaped my life are the Kentucky Fried Movie, which is hilarious. And it shaped my sense of humor. And I Spit on Your Grave. Yes, they let a 6-year-old... Okay, we're going to say 7.
God.
Watch these 2 movies. But you know what? They really shaped, like, everything about me. Like, the movies that I like. And even I Spit on Your Grave, I was too young to know, like, what sex was. I certainly didn't know what rape was. And all I saw there was these boys are being mean to this girl. And this girl is not going to have it. She's going to get back at these boys. That's all I saw. And that stuck with me. That's why I love Rape Revenge, by the way, people. I'm not subversive. That's kind of the correlation in my, adult mind from my childhood. But yeah, so I started watching. I was always scared of everything. I was always intrigued by trailers and that type of stuff. But then, like, as I got older, I got out of that. Started watching Friday the 13th on like USA marathons, watching USA Up All Night, watching Joe Bob Briggs, all that jazz. And then when I got kind of old enough, and we actually did have a VCR. We had a video store called Video City, and I was thinking about this today. I'm rambling. I'll edit a lot of this, I promise. The guy who owned it, Carrie Scott, actually is probably responsible, aside from my sisters making bad choices, Carrie Scott was probably responsible for a lot of my love for a lot of these movies and a lot of horror, and he was really into it. And he would get everything. I mean, everything. So, I mean, you would have, you'd go in and there'd be freaking whatever. I can't even think of like a popular movie from 85 that's not horror. But there'd be all the popular movies, but he always got the random ones. And they were always the ones that I was drawn to. And like, now everybody talks about them, but like Sleepaway Camp, like those movies, I was like, oh yeah, I gotta rent those. Happy Birthday to Me, all the ones with the cool covers. But like you said, you kind of like, you get past a certain point. Things didn't come out as quickly as they do now. Like when it's like Tuesday and like, oh, hey, like videos come out. It's like, okay, between video on demand and physical media and everything else, you've got probably like 100 movies that come out every week. Then it was like maybe there were 4 or 5. And then maybe there were like 3 or 4 that like no one else cared about.
It's a great time to be a fan.
Yes.
Right now.
It is. It's a great time, but it's also a terrible time because, it's a terrible time for the fans and for the filmmakers because I feel like so many things get lost.
Yes, the filmmakers are having a hard time.
And I feel frustrated because I will stumble upon a film that I really love, and I get kind of upset that it doesn't get the notoriety it should just because it kind of gets lost in the mix. You guys know I'm assuming that anybody who's listening to this listens to my shenanigans somewhere else. Like, I can't imagine that any of them like stumbled upon this, but if you didn't, I'm Becca. And I'm an idiot. But, like, the last 6 months or whatever, I have championed Cherokee Creek and The Bad Man and Skeletons in the Closet. They're 3 fabulous, fabulous movies that I adore, and I have done everything that I can to bring them into the limelight. And they really, in a time before, maybe even like the mid-90s, I think any of those would have gotten kind of a cult following. But now there are just so many movies that it's just hard for anybody to get a piece of the pie, essentially. So, anyway, that's my aside. Again, Slade knows I edit the shit out of these.
Yeah, streaming has killed it a lot. Like, as far as just the convenience of taking and having all these films and people being overwhelmed with it, and just the sheer amount of films that you can take and choose from.
And
it's hard to stick out.
Why are some of these movies, why do we even watch some of these movies that we're going to be talking about? Is because we exhausted our possibilities. We watched all the A-list movies, we watched all the B-list movies, and then maybe some of the C-list movies, and then it was like, well, what's left? And that's where some of these movies came from. I mean, it was essentially like, I rented so many movies, I had to start renting, like, bottom of the barrel, and those are now like some of my best memories and some of the movies that I rented continually as a kid.
Yep, same here.
So, and actually I have to say, I was giving a shout out to Kerry Scott. I think he's still alive. He had a lot of health issues. Last I heard he was in Atlanta, but I actually ended up working for him one summer in college. He opened up a cult video store in Bloomington, Indiana, which is a college town, Plan 9 Video. And there was nobody there. And basically he took all of the really awesome shit from Video City and brought it down there. And so that's where I fell in love with, like, Herschel Gordon Lewis, like Russ Meyer, like all the nasty grindhouse sexploitation, blaxploitation movies. I would sit there all day and like I would trade cigarettes for movies with the guy who worked in the head shop upstairs, and I would just sit there and eat Pop-Tarts and like smoke cigarettes and like watch Twilight Zone all day and like have maybe 2 customers. It was beautiful. Not for him, but it was beautiful for me. So our co-host of In the Mike Madness, Jason Smith, he always likes to say nostalgia is a powerful drug, and it is. It really is. Okay, so Slade, would you say that most of these movies we're going to talk about are great movies?
I would say that they're great to me.
Exactly.
I think that given the budget and the constraints that these people were working with, in addition to the freedom of information back then, you had to know somebody to take in you were taking in making these effects out of nothing. There were no schools for it.
There was no Party City.
No, there was nothing like that. And these people said, hey, I'm going to take and make this dream a reality. And people like Todd Sheets taking and getting the Poloni brothers taking and getting worldwide distribution when they're so young. I mean, the Polonias were in their teens, and Todd, I think he was in his early 20s, taking to have his movies around the world. What were you doing when you were in your 20s?
Okay, so I was also a video store girl all through high school. So small town Indiana, I worked at the cool video store. I was like, that's like being, like, it's like being Judge Reinhold in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Like, you get the great job and everybody wants it, and they're like, how can I get into All-American Burger? But, so the 90s, the early 90s were kind of a dark time for that kind of stuff, for any kind of horror. But I remember renting a movie that I absolutely was like, this is so awesome. I love it. I recently bought the Blu-ray restoration of it. There's Nothing Out There. Rolf Konevsky. And I was 16 or 17 when that came out, and I only figured out in the last year he was only like a year or two older than I was when he made that. And I think my life would have been different had I known. Like, had I watched that and been like, oh my God, this kid, a kid my age made this movie, I think it would have been a little bit different for me.
Yeah, Craven totally ripped that movie off, too.
Yes.
Oh, that makes me so mad.
Go get that. I think it's Vinegar Syndrome, I want to say. I think it's that or Arrow, but I think it's Vinegar Syndrome because it's got the really cool, But there's some really cool extras on there, and one of them is, it's kind of heartbreaking, and Rolf has made some great movies. Party Bus to Hell was like one of my favorite movies of the last couple of years. But there is a character in that is Randy from Scream. It is. He is straight out. This
totally.
This is
100%.
This is before self-referential horror. Yes, parody horror had already been done. We had Student Bodies, we had Wacko, those types of things. Those are straight out parodies. This was the first self-referential horror. The first movie that I had ever seen, or that I still, doing some research, can find, where they're going into a situation and you have somebody who is like, you do realize this is how horror movies start. And this guy in this movie is straight out Randy, and Rolf actually gave a copy of this or a ticket or something to Wes's son, and a few years later, Scream came out. So it's not complete ripoff, but let's just say the people who come up with the most original ideas do not usually get the credit.
Sadly, yes.
Yeah. All right. Okay, soapboxes. There are going to be a lot of soapboxes, right, Slade?
All the soapboxes. Oh,
yeah, soapboxes and storage containers. I'm looking, he's trying to get all his movies out. So these movies just have a lot. They have a lot of charm. They have a lot of heart. And I think, like, I didn't know that. We didn't have the internet. We couldn't look these movies up. We didn't recognize any of the names. We just looked at the box and said, hey, this looks pretty cool, and took it home. And it was like, oh, this is really gross. Yeah. But now that we're older, and Slade has done so much more of this than I have. Slade is the, like, expert on all of this stuff. Shot on video, like, the directors, the backstories, and is just such a fan, and I'm so enamored by him. Slade! Oh,
you're sweet.
But to me, I'm kind of coming back and watching these and, like, having all of these, like, 14, 15-year-old, like, memories come back and flood, and then I'm like looking and I hear him talk, and I'm like, oh my God, there was so much more to these than I ever knew, and this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fucking fun.
It just pulls me back right into that time, and every time I sit down and watch them, it's like I'm taking and getting those VHS tapes again and putting them in the VCR for the first time and just experiencing it. And they feel like they're made by fans, like, for the vast majority of it.
And they really, most of them are. I mean, most of them are, like we said, like, the kids in, you know, in their parents' basements and, you know, using their dad's car and, you know, using their mom's credit card. And, you know, it's really like once you start doing a little bit of research into this, how these people started, it's really amazing. And it really like brings a whole new aspect to this.
Yeah, it really does. And there's some hidden gems in there. Like I sometimes I get into these groups and you keep on hearing people talking about these films, and then you forget that, oh, right, 99% of the world doesn't even know that these things exist.
Yes, exactly. Like we're in a few groups. So Unearthed Films, which is great. Stephen Byro.
Yep, and Susie.
Yeah,
Susie's great.
And they don't just focus. The group does not just focus on unearthed films. They focus on kind of lesser known, a lot of shock value, gore, or whatever, and like. So yeah, people will talk about a movie in there like it's just like everybody knows it. Like it just, you know, it was like Top Gun and this came out the same day. You know, everybody saw it, and like you'll be like, I've never heard of that. Like, oh my God, there's this whole other world. And they're just really great. And this stuff is still being made today. We should probably mention that, too.
Yeah, there are a lot of independent filmmakers making films with nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. Yeah. Like, my buddy Phil Stevens, Brian Paulin, like, just making some really great films with nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Now, Nothing Now is a little bit different than Nothing Then. Because Nothing Then was really probably little to nothing, and you know, having your parents having access to a camera. Now there are you know, now nothing is, I have an idea and I'm gonna have to do an Indiegogo and I'm gonna have to beg people for money, go on social media, but it is the same concept. I mean, I've been backing a lot of these movies, like Cameron Scott's Death Care that's coming out. Donald Farmer is one of the people we were talking about, because one of the movies that we want to do is Savage Vengeance, which was an unofficial sequel to I Spit on Your Grave. It did have Camille Keaton from '93, and it's like, okay, he's still making movies. Yeah, he, like I said, I was going to buy a Donald Farmer anthology set that Slade sent me, and I said, if it doesn't have Jason Crow being like the slimiest, sleaziest person I've ever seen and Hooker with a chainsaw, I ain't buying. Because I didn't even make the connection, like, that it's, like, the same, like, you know, oh, it's the Cannibal Cop guy, right? So, they are some, Ralph Konevsky, I just said, you know, just recently made Party Bus to Hell. Todd Sheets, hello, Clownado.
Yep.
And The Ballad of Marshall Stack, look that one up, guys, it's coming out, and it's going to be awesome.
Just the promotional pictures from that look great.
I'm supposed to be in it.
I know, and I'm jealous.
I know, and it's only because I kiss their asses and I live where they're filming, and it's gonna be, I'm like, I'll be corpse number 4, guys.
That whole crew they're just great.
Oh my God.
Every last one of them.
Can we just give a shout out to all of them? Like, so
yes, please.
We have befriended so many of, like, what I like to call the Todd Sheets players, or the Todd Sheets, you know, Todd Sheets verse. So Amanda Payton, who's like my babe, you know.
Amanda's wonderful.
Yes. Antoine Steele, who I still, the Twan, I still have to meet him. I really want to meet him. Sweetest guy ever. And just great and gracious. Like, John O'Hara, who plays Big Ronnie in Clownado, who I think is going to be the bad guy in The Ballad of Marshall Stack. If you've seen the CGI pictures.
I'm guessing so, too.
Like, yeah, they need somebody with a lot of muscles. Man, he's got muscles. Dylan Harvey. I'm going to forget people, so I really... Eli DeGear, and then my babe, Sheila Brandon Allen. Alice. Douglas Epps. God, who else? I'm forgetting so many people. But this whole little group, like, every time we put something out there, like, they are always, like, sharing and just, like, supportive, and we do the same to them. I hope that we do the same to them.
And they're so approachable, too.
Oh,
It's great.
They're awesome. They're awesome. And if I forgot you, I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to go back. There's going to be, like, a little, like, edit, like, and? Because I know I'm forgetting people, but that whole group is just so awesome. So we are kissing all kinds of people's asses. We are like kissing video store asses, and that don't even exist anymore. But, and here's another ass to kiss.
Memories.
Yes, collective ass here to kiss. So, if you were a person who in the 80s worked, I don't even know what it would be, like the marketing campaign, like if you were involved in creating the design for like the box art for horror movies or writing the blurbs on the back or anything, that whole body of people, you are fucking geniuses.
Yes.
Just fucking geniuses. Like, I can't tell you how many movies that I rented based on the box, based on the blurb, based on all that stuff, got them home, was like, yawn. And then, like, maybe even a month later going, I think I'm going to rent that again. Take it back home, yawn. And even now, I'm like, oh, I just bought, okay, this is not a slam on this movie, but I just bought Mountaintop Motel Massacre. Awesome. Vinegar Syndrome, like, you know, very kind of pricey, like, you know, restoration. And I started watching and I was like, yawn. Like, but it doesn't matter because it's like, it's Mountaintop Motel Massacre. Like, you all
I love that movie.
Oh my God. And I like it. I like it a lot. But it's like, I forget how, like, some of those movies are just like same as a lot of the movies that I would watch from, like, my late night horror host. That's one of the things I said in my Days of the Dead wrap-up video was I bought this movie, and it was bootlegged. Because it never, I don't even know if it made it to VHS. It was called The Severed Arm. And like, the cover is so awesome. It's like, there's a madman on the loose, blah, 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 blah. You know, and like, I remember watching it on Sammy Terry, and it's like, this guy gets mailed an arm, and I'm like, oh, you know? And then there's a lot of blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. And then there are like some like people trapped in like a mine for like an hour trying to figure out how to survive. And it's got Henry from Alice, the telephone man that always came into the restaurant. And that's the only thing I remember was like, oh yeah. And I think it took them like a full hour before they basically decided to saw. Oh, spoiler alert, everybody. You're not like, you get this movie, but they decide to saw off one of the guy's arms to try to survive. Like, that's not really horror, and that's not a madman on the loose.
God, can we have those beautifully drawn, painted VHS covers back instead of the CGI crap we have now? That's
and there have
just
been
constantly rehashed.
Yes, and there have been some great ones, and I will say that is still one of the first things that I will look at. So, just shout out some people. Sean Jones, Camp Killer. I wasn't a huge fan of the movie, but I saw the cover and it was recommended to me, and I was like, this cover is great. And then come to find out, like, he did like a bartering thing with a friend to do that. She Kills from Ron Bonk. See, I'm going to be name dropping here too, because I'm going to be hitting some of y'all up for some stuff, but you know, brain picking and all that jazz. Interviews.
Yes, please.
Ron Bonk. Love you, Ron Bonk. But like, She Kills, you know, low budget movie. Great fucking poster. I mean, so there are a lot of people who are artists who are still out there doing that thing. But yes, like, even the like, quote unquote normal movies of that time were all like hand drawn, like, gonna throw out some really random ones, like, you know, like The Great Muppet Caper, that was a hand-drawn one. The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, like, I just remember those, like, really nicely cool, like, very outlandish. There's always, like, some kind of crazy, somebody's got their legs in the air, somebody's, like, screaming, you know, it's just, like, this very, like, crazy outlandish shit. I love those, but yes, we need more of those, don't we?
I know one that I hate that I continually see that I've talked to Jason Smith about tons of times is the stupid one from Absentia that continually gets reused over and over and over again. God, I hate that so bad. Put it in the ground. It needs to go away.
Yes. There are the ones that are just, it's like, could you guys do that again? Although I did buy 2 Vinegar Syndrome Blu-rays. I'm gonna have to tag them. Like, can you give me a promo code for my next purchase? But I bought Madman and I bought the special edition of Slaughterhouse, And it wasn't until I like put them side by side where I was like, you know, I forget, like, they have the exact same fucking cover. Like, they just, I mean, flat out same cover, almost the same font, you know, whatever. And it's like, I didn't care back then. I don't care now. But yeah, this is a time where I can, in 5 minutes, you give me an idea, and I'm not creative at all, but you give me an idea, I got Photoshop, I've got Premiere, I can make you an animation, I can make you a picture, I can make you whatever. So it does seem really stupid and cheap when people are just rehashing the same things over and over. When it's like, I could do that in 3 seconds.
Yes, yeah. It's lazy, and it's disrespectful to the filmmakers, too, especially if they really put a lot of effort into it.
Even if they didn't, it's like, doesn't somebody have, like, a kid who's, like, a sophomore or something that could design something? I mean, I just feel like so much of it is, like, so easily, like, remedied by a decent poster that can be done by somebody who is a complete novice.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of good ones, the Clownado one was excellent.
Clownado.
Yeah. Shout out to Todd again.
Shout out to Todd and John and Amanda and, you know, a lot of people there.
Yep.
Oh, Millie Milan. There's another one that we forgot to say. See, I knew I'd have a bunch of them.
There you go.
There we go. But, yeah, I mean, there are just so many that are great. And something that's coming out, I have no idea if the movie's good or not. I'm hoping it is. But it won kind of our unofficial best poster of 2018 for a movie that didn't come out in 2018, but we saw the poster in 2018. That's Gags the Clown.
Oh yeah, Paul was talking about that. Shout out to Paul.
It is. Yes, it is coming out soon, from what I am told. So, anyway, but we're not talking about Gags or Absentia or whatever. We are, because that's where we are. So this is. Slades, this is your second time of doing this, right?
Oh, on the podcast?
Right.
Yes, it is. I'm still a bit of a novice. I apologize to any listeners.
He's not. He was his first go round at a podcast was interviewing Todd Sheets, like one of his favorite directors of all time, and getting Todd Sheets to unsolicited say, "Thank you, Slade. It's people like you that make me do what I do." Like, I mean, we're talking about, I gave him the Make-A-Wish moment.
I was getting some sand in my eyes there towards the end. I have to admit. Yeah. I thank you guys for giving me that opportunity. I really do.
Yes,
Todd was really gracious. He was great.
Oh yeah, he is great, and like we've interviewed him since. I mean, you haven't, but like our show has interviewed him since.
Yeah,
and he's been awesome. Like they have given us. Like movies, like, you know, like digital links to different movies and things specifically for me and Slade. And yeah, they've just been awesome. But, so we are here. Let's just, anyway, the point was I told Slade, I'm like, yeah, you know, we'll talk about this and this and that, you know, for like an hour. And he's like, an hour? And I'm like, well, no. I think we've already been on here for like an hour.
And that's okay.
That's okay because we are here to talk about The Basement. So
The Basement.
The Basement is a movie that actually just got released in, what did they say, like maybe 2013 was when this box set came out.
Yeah, so somewhere around those lines.
The Basement was a lost video. It was a lost film. It was from, I want to say they made it. I don't even know when they made it.
It's 89, I think.
But is 89 really when they made it, or like when regardless, it got shelved.
Yeah,
it got shelved big time. So it was shot on Super 8, directed by Tim O'Raw, and we actually reached out to the cinematographer Michael Raso, who still works in movies today, and he got John Fedele, who is, well, as you'll hear in some of these clips, had various titles, but it was essentially like an assistant director, also an actor, also probably held lighting and whatever else he needed to do. And they got together and recorded a 40-minute segment for us. So Slade came up with a very nice, competent list of questions that weren't covered in the commentary on the DVD, because the commentary is actually very, very comprehensive.
Yes, it is.
It is. It's great, and it is the two of them. But basically, they recorded a thing for us where they went through some of the basics that probably are on the commentary, and they went through and they answered our questions.
My name is Michael Raso, and I'm sitting here with John Fedele. We're here talking today about the 1989
epic film,
The Basement,
the 8mm
horror anthology.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
And this was a film shot on Super 8 and shot specifically for the home video market. So Tim O'Raw was the writer-director, and Tim O'Raw went to school with myself and John Fedele,
Right.
and we all loved movies and all wanted to make movies, and that's what we did.
Mm-hmm.
I am the cinematographer on this movie. John, I don't know if you had a title of assistant director, but I would call you that.
It was, all around good guy. Whatever you needed.
Whatever you needed, and you're in the movie. The folks at In the Mic of Madness sent us some questions. Now, I'm guessing these questions exist because we didn't talk about, flush them out on the commentary track. The Basement, by the way, I should say, The Basement came out a few years ago in a big box VHS with a DVD. Those are hard to come by these days.
Really?
And I'd like to say that this email prompted me to we're looking into releasing a DVD only in the fall of just The Basement and all the Basement extras.
Okay, so you heard it. In the Mic of Madness has prompted a DVD release of The Basement. Thank you. You're welcome. Right? It's really Slade who did it.
It needs it. And, the box set's only going to be around for so long. And if you guys want to take and pick it up, you need to pick it up now because there's limited quantities available. And you can do that at alternativecinema.com.
And also, you can find some on Amazon, and it is pricey. He said that flat out. But the box set is beautiful. It is a big box set. It has the VHS and DVD of the remastered version of The Basement. By the way, we are totally we have no association with Michael Raso. We are just kissing his ass because we love this shit. Okay, so it sounds like a commercial, but we're like, we can't recommend this enough. It has fabulous commentary. There are some really fun things, like there are a couple of shorts that Tim O'Raw did before this. There is this absolutely amazing, adorable, news footage of the local news crew going out and basically saying, "Hey, Hollywood's come to New Jersey." So that is actually available on YouTube, and just as a little bit of a little carrot for y'all, I'm gonna put the YouTube link down there. It is so great to hear them talking about it while they are on set and being interviewed when they have no idea what they're doing. They don't know if this is going to be the next Hollywood blockbuster or if this is going to be shelved. So it is really awesome. The set actually also contains Video Violence 1 and 2 and Captives, all from Gary Cohen. Video Violence 1 and 2 are definitely they're two of probably, I would say, the most recognizable or popular, I don't know if I want to use those words, shot on video movies. Definitely ones that Slade and I bonded over.
Yes.
Slade was a Video Violence boy. I had this total crazy flood of memories when I watched Video Violence 2 on this. I still need to know how you did the puppet tendon thing on the girl's hand on that. Gary Cohen.
Wore my Video Violence shirt to our last convention.
That's right.
Only one person even mentioned it. It broke my heart.
You did get a couple compliments though, because the one person, I can't even remember who it was, but they were like, "That is the coolest shirt I've ever seen."
It was the Skeleton of the Closets crew.
Oh, okay. So Tony Wash.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. And then we have Cannibal Campout, it's from John McBride, which we have another movie. So we have a stack of movies. Slade generously sent me a stack of movies. And Whip Chipper Massacre was one of the ones that I wanted to do. And that's also from John McBride. So maybe we'll do that. And Cannibal Campout is if we can pare this down, we're not going to be rambling this much. So we can probably do double features from now on, don't you think?
Possibly, considering that the vast majority of them are usually at or around an hour each.
And a lot of them have so much common ground, whether it be the actors or the content or, some of them almost seem like they're two different movies, but they almost seem like a sequel of the last one because it's like they did the one and they're like, okay, we can do this a little better. So, so there are a lot of those. So yes, I think we can probably do that. But The Basement, it was shelved. And the main reason was this was shot on Super 8. And when it all came back, it was too dark. And it is not necessarily Michael Raso's fault.
So the film was shelved for many years because most of the footage was shot too dark.
Right.
And back in the day, technology wasn't...
Nothing you could do about it.
The scan technology wasn't as good. I felt bad. Normally when you shoot a film, you shoot a day's worth of work and you send it to the lab. And then you get your footage back, or you call the lab and say, hey, how do they look? The camera for The Basement was the same Super 8 camera that was J.R. Bookwalter used on The Dead Next Door. So J.R. lent me his camera, and I've told this story before. I'm sure I told it on the commentary track of The Basement big box that came out a few years ago, which was J.R. said to me, just put it on auto and shoot.
Yeah. Is that what you did?
No.
Ah, stupid.
Yeah, here I am, fancy pants. I knew better than anybody else. Why would I put it on auto when I have my Gossen Luna Pro light meter?
Why?
The thing about Super 8 cameras, and I tell people who are shooting Super 8 today, especially with my involvement with the film photography project, is I tell them what JR told me.
Put it on auto.
I'm like, these are prosumer cameras. These are not professional cameras. So these cameras aren't designed to be used manually, in my opinion, and by proof of going through the exercise of ruining Tim's movie. So I felt really bad about it, and I didn't think Tim would want me to shoot another film with him, but we did. I'm friends with Tim to this day.
J.R. Bookwalter's done quite a bit, so we'll probably be hitting you up too, J.R. My God. Yeah, we are whores. We really don't care. We're gonna try to talk to as many of you guys as we can because we love you. So this is an anthology. So it reminds me a lot of Tales from the Crypt, like the 1972-ish Tales from the Crypt with Joan Collins and I can't remember who else. But it's basically like people are gathered. These people are gathered in a basement. In Tales from the Crypt, they're gathered in like a mansion. And basically forced to face their sins. And in this one, in the basement, you've got 4 people who are in this basement. And they are faced with the Sentinel. But he's making them face the sins of their future. Yeah,
that was one odd part that I wasn't... Not sure of. And I think, what was it, shot in the director's basement, too? Like his actual basement?
Yes. So. They say the thing that's obvious that I think anybody who is watching it would say, and that they are, well, we haven't done these things yet. Can't we change them? But he flat out says, nope, this is what you're going to do. Yep. This is it. So it's...
Yep, you're screwed.
Yeah, it's like the ghost of Christmas future telling you, but there's nothing you can do about it. So just watch and learn. And
there's one story that follows along with that kind of theme too, which is
yes.
I was kind of like, what?
Yes,
but we'll get to that.
Yeah, we will get to that. So they did talk about in the interview that we got from them that this would have come out in '89, and that was kind of a dead period for any kind of video. It was before DVD, but it was after the VHS boom.
I never personally had a theatrical mindset,
right?
Like for a theater, I never ever shot for a theater.
Tim was looking to.
No. Tim was always direct to video as well.
Oh, okay.
Always wanted to do a deal for VHS. And the thing is, if we shot The Basement 8 years earlier, that was the VHS boom.
Yeah.
By '89, it was disintegrating.
Yeah.
So '89, and then DVDs didn't come out until mid '90s. So it was kind of like that dead period. where in between VHS and DVD, so the market was not as robust.
And it was into the hands of Michael Raso, who is at the helm of Camp Motion Picture, which is now Alternative Cinema, as we said before. We'll keep pimping them out. But he was able to remaster this with his company.
When Tim moved to Los Angeles in 1991, he came to my office in Comcast with the boxes of the basement reels.
Just dumped them on
Just said, here you go, Mike. Good luck.
Wow.
And then they sat in my office at Comcast. Then I moved them to my house in Vernon. Jesus. Then I moved them to my apartment in Pompton Plains. Then I moved them to the warehouse in Butler.
Oh, my God.
So, I mean, the fact that they still exist.
The fact that they're all intact.
Yes. And then
usable is amazing.
Inspiration struck when Joe Colbeck came to work for Camp.
Joey K.
My company Camp. He did 2 big projects. The first project he did was remaster Video Violence and Video Violence 2. These are the Gary Cohen movies.
Right.
Joe K was able to look at the transfers, and back then, Super 8 film came with a magnetic strip on the side of it.
All right.
So we record the actor's dialogue, yes, on the actual film stripe. Joey K, when he edited the movie, he edited it with the original audio.
Yeah.
The original, so a master of the film exists with the original audio, and then Joey, talk about painstakingly, none of it was used. So every sound effects, music, and voice has been re-recorded beautifully, I might add. And he used the original tracks as the guide.
So he dubbed over the original.
Yep.
Him and his buddies?
Yep. So the original audio exists. It's cut.
It's unusable? Or
when we mastered the DVD, the thought was to have a secondary audio track with the original audio, and we forgot to do it.
Oh, Stoops. What would it have added, though? Just
miles of enjoyment. And then there's audio that was just missing where Joey had to read lips.
Oh, my God.
Like at the pool where there's like a cat fight between the 2 women. And the woman's like, you fucking bitch.
Oh, my God. He must have had so much fun with that. You fucking bitch. That's hilarious.
So the first segment is actually, it is his wife, correct? This is Kathleen?
Yes.
Kathleen O'Raw now.
Heidinger, I think it was Kathleen Heidinger.
Yeah, so
she also took and produced the film, from what I understand.
Well, when he says produced, financed, and you'll find out about that later.
Yeah.
But yes, so she was the first person in this, and this one, these do have loose names. This would be called the swimming pool.
The swimming pool, yes.
Yes, and so a woman is, she's reading a Stephen King novel, and she has names written in this book, and she invites guys over who basically she feeds them to some kind of puppet anaconda in her pool. Am I right? Is that...
Yeah, and just the dubbing is wonderful in this.
Right.
I love it. It's just
okay,
great.
So you heard in the last clip, so the remastering, basically the audio does exist, which when you come out with that DVD in the fall, we need that alternate track. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that would be great.
But I had no idea when I've watched this a couple times. I had no idea that it was just like a bunch of guys redubbing this stuff. So that, like, yeah. You fucking bitch!
You
like,
bitch!
I cannot wait to watch it again because, like, that's what I put on here. Like, before I knew any of that stuff, I put dubbing, heart, asterisk, on my nose.
And
it's
motherfucker!
It's so great.
God.
But it is. But then when you hear that, like, I mean, I already was like, okay, there's a story there, but regardless of the story, I love the dubbing. It's the same when I watch an Italian 1980s movie, and it's like, who speaks English? Who's speaking Italian? You be the judge, you know? Like, I love that. It has so much charm, so that automatically pulled me in. But this is a pretty cool little segment. I mean, it doesn't really go anywhere. None of them really do. But it's like, it makes you wonder, though, if we're going to talk about plot now. So this lady, this is her sin of the future. So what has she done up until this point to be targeted by the Sentinel of the basement?
Probably slutting around on her husband with the pool boys.
Yeah, but I think this is only like the second or third name. And then she gets in the cat fight with the chick, and she marks her name off too. So this is clearly not just who she's slutting around with. It's like who she has it out for. It's like the homeowners association list. Like, and you said our mailbox wasn't the right color. Yeah.
But she seems so surprised initially that Cthulhu is coming out of the bottom of this pool and violently killing people. But she's totally cool with it after it gets her husband. She's all about it.
Yeah, I don't know if I feel like she summoned it. I mean, I feel like she knew, and maybe that first time she knew it was a possibility, but like she was just like, okay, I'm doing this now. You know, it's like, when you find out, like when you get that box of fireworks and you're like, okay, and you like the first one and you're really apprehensive, then after that first one you're like, fuck yeah, motherfuckers, light this bitch up. Like, I know what it's gonna do, but I just need to do my first one. So there's really not a whole lot there. I mean, it is the total karma story. Of course, she gets thrown in the pool playfully by one of her boys. She's just like, oh, and she's just like, no, fuck no. Like, that's what you get, bitch. There's a lot of that's what you get, bitch kind of things.
I think it was the pool boy was the one that summoned the interdimensional hell beast to take and eat all the people.
Maybe, but basically he takes over for her, and
exactly.
He's got his own list.
He's completely unfazed by it. Like, he immediately knows for whatever reason. Like, he
probably was standing in the bushes.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gets out the cordless phone with the 3-foot antenna, and he calls his first victim.
Yep.
Again, those are the kinds of things. And I will say that one of the things in one of the clips that we will play, he mentions that some people have said to him that they thought this was like a dupe. Like, no, you just made this. You made this now. You made it in the style of that stuff or whatever. And like, I kind of, like when I first started watching it before I did any research, I was like, oh, I think they just made this. And I was like totally on board. But it's like when they pulled out that phone, I was like, no, I don't even know if I've seen one of those at a flea market in a long time.
I haven't seen one of those in ages. Like the big bag phones.
Oh my god, I love them though. But yeah, so so that was the first one. And then the second one was called Trick or Treat, which
I love this one.
This was basically part of, or it was done originally as a short or part of a short by Tim O'Raw, and it was basically like a Halloween version of A Christmas Carol, right? And this one actually, I think, to me, is the most memorable, and I almost felt like I saw it before.
Yeah, it's kind of got that feeling. Boy, this guy really, really fucking hates kids. He really hates kids.
He does not need to be in education. Soapbox again. So Slade's wife is a teacher. I am a technology director for a school district. And if you hate kids this much, people, just retire or go find something else to do. Because, no, you don't. You just should not be working with children. His Emily died, and they used to love to terrorize children at Halloween. Yeah, that was their bonding moment.
Yep, and oh god, the staff scenes where he's going into the
staff lounge.
Just oh god, this is just great.
Oh my god, but yeah, he's a dick. He hates them. He has this whole scene in his head. I mean, you can tell it's a dream sequence, but all these kids are in his class, and he is just pissed at them. And he just has this like dream that he like kills them all, but then they all come up like basically as zombies to pass up their work to him.
he stabs him in the face with pencils and pulls out these Bowie knives and just starts going to town on all of them. Yeah. And evidently he's a necromancer too, because he takes and brings them back and makes them hand in their homework.
And yeah, suddenly they're like the perfect students, right? But then he like kind of wakes up and he looks at his, classroom of apathetic kids who all they want to do is go drink and party tonight or whatever. But but the thing is like these are high school kids, right?
Yeah, it seemed that way.
Yeah, high school, maybe high, not elementary, but high, like middle school, at the most. But, like, the kids that come up to his house are kids, like elementary kids, and he's a real dick to them. Like, I don't know if he's like, you're gonna be those assholes in my classroom in a few years or what, but he, like, actually eggs some of the kids.
Yeah, they never really explain why they hate kids so much. They just really, really, really do.
Mm-hmm. So Emily comes back.
Oh, I love the practicals for just the mannequin and everything that they take and get with that whole scene is great. It's fun.
And they didn't talk about it a lot in the commentary, and I'm surprised they didn't say anything here, and I'm kind of kicking myself that we didn't ask them. But yeah, that's like the very first thing that's on the top of my notes is like, the puppet is great. I mean, she is like up there with, I would say, like the Crypt Keeper or something. She's got a lot of facial movement. She's creepy as shit. She's got that right amount of like facial, like skin deterioration kind of thing going, I thought.
Yeah, it was totally nice, like something you'd find in a really good haunted house kind of feel to it. It's really really cool. Then she takes and says, warns him, "Oh, you gotta stop being mean to these kids. You're screwed."
Yeah, like why does she have this like change? I'm like, what does it matter to her now? Like
she has to sit and look at the top of her. Like what was it that she was like? She had to sit and suffer in her coffin. Well, the thing is, he only ever gets this one chance, and with the subsequent monsters that take and come by, they're just like, you got to stop, you got to change. But he isn't given another chance after that.
He got like twofold. Like even in his like future self, didn't get to try to redeem himself.
Nope. You're a dick. You're screwed.
You're screwed. Yeah. She's got those big boils on her face, and like they had like some pretty sophisticated like bladders and
the
stuff.
Cool bladder effects.
Yeah, which again, and you said, okay, like the puppet was like something you would see at a really cool haunted house. Today, yes, I could go spend $150 at Spirit Halloween in October and get a really cool witch puppet that looked like that, but not back then.
No,
and that's again, these people did not have iPhones. They did not have gallons of blood for $5. And I'm not saying anything to people who make movies like that now. But these people had to come up with some shit. And that's just it. When you look at it that way, when you think about taking yourself back to that time, and some of you, actually probably most of the people listening to this were here in that time. But if you weren't, it's hard to imagine like that you had to make your own fake blood. Yeah. I was mad because for a con, I recently ordered some off of Amazon, and it came to me like on my doorstep in like less than 24 hours. And then like when I used it, I was like, oh my God, when it dries, it just looks like dried blood. It does not look like fresh blood. Yeah. And I paid like $5 for a gallon of it. Oh my God. These people are like,
yeah, these were just three friends from film school who decided that they were going to take time out of their lives and make this.
Yes, and that's another thing. So, first of all, this actually had a fairly high budget for the time, and we find out what the budget is and how they came upon it.
Was there a budget?
Yes. The film, The Basement, was not funded by any company. It was funded by the money Tim raised from his soon-to-be wife, Kathleen. Kathleen funded the movie.
So self-financed.
Self-financed.
By his future wife?
That's right.
Right.
He was not married yet.
Right. That was nice of her. Probably wouldn't. Well, what do you think the budget was?
Well, I think
how much money?
Oh,
did we spend?
$10,000.
$10,000. We spent all of $10,000.
Yes.
On what?
Film,
8mm film.
effects,
Oh, Scott Hart, right?
food.
For nowadays, 10 grand is like kind of your average low budget movie thing. But really, like if you think about it, so much of their money had to go towards film, like actual film.
Oh yeah, yeah. And
Right. I mean, now like that's not even a consideration. I mean, everything's so digital. You may have to pay for like your hard drive, but it's not the same as actually having to buy physical film stock.
Yeah, the cost of taking and doing digital filming now versus taking and having all that equipment, whether buy or rent, and all the film, reshoots, all that, all that's money. And now it's not really taken into account as much. Yeah, and then we get to see the rest of the cool ensemble of monsters. And that demon was really cool. I like that.
Yes, I mean, there were a lot of really good effects in this. A lot of good makeup in this segment, I thought.
Yep, and the Evil Dead, a la like flying shot when the witch is taken and coming down the stairs, and it afterwards impales him with the broomstick.
All right, so segment 3 is called Zombie Movie, and I'm just going to read what's on the back of the box because it's beautiful. Zombie Movie: cocaine, hookers, and reanimated corpses wreak havoc on the set of an independent film.
That's pretty accurate.
Yes, it is. But I don't know that the cocaine... Yeah. I don't know that the cocaine really wreaks havoc. And the hookers really don't do any. It's just the reanimated corpses that really cause problems.
Yeah, the bimbos just kind of get ignored for the most part.
They get thrown out as sacrifices.
Sacrifice, yeah.
Okay, so you want to start talking about this one?
Yeah, so we open up with these grave diggers digging up a corpse, and all of a sudden havoc starts popping up as these I guess what was it, Kiss rejects, when the part where the zombies come up and plays the guitar riff, and he takes and says cut, and it for whatever reason, just completely random and great.
Right, and not to mention their grave diggers in this movie within a movie are complete hillbillies, like stereotypical hillbillies.
Yes.
But yeah, so we find out basically this is a movie. Okay, so they're making a movie, and then we get a guy who walks over with a Dead Next Door shirt.
And he takes and tells the director that he's disrespecting horror fans with this film. He's giving horror a bad name, and the director just tells him he knows what the kids want.
That's right. So he is actually the director of The Dead Next Door, and already mentioned, he's the one who who loaned the camera that Michael Raso did not listen to. Just put it on auto.
Just put it on auto.
Just put it on. When you know what? When the director of The Dead Next Door says, just put it on auto, just put it on fucking auto. There we go. But yeah, this is got a lot of grainy night footage. So I can see, I can see there, like they were saying in one of the clips that we got, that they had like a B crew and the A crew, and they had like one set of lights. And they were filming like half of it on one side of the lighting and then the other half on the other. So yeah, so lighting was a little bit to blame on this one.
The Dead start to get really pissed off at the director for taking and insulting Romero's legacy.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and nobody believes the Fangoria guy, because the Dead Next Door, J.R. Bookwaller, he's got to be reading Fangoria and later reading, I've got this written down, The Zombies That Ate Pittsburgh.
Nobody believes him, and he's saved by his faith in Romero.
That's
in
right.
the picture, as these zombies encircle him. And he takes and holds up a picture of Romero, and they all decide that he's all right.
That's right. That's exactly it. And you know what? That's beautiful. But of course, then we get the mustachio guy who's been partying with the bimbos. and the dads start coming towards them, and he's like shooting at them, and then he just like pushes the girls out the door, like as a sacrifice, like total dick.
The thing that really stuck out for me with this is that as soon as the zombies show up, he's just like, "Oh, they're totally zombies. This isn't a prank or anything.
Yes.
I'm just going to start opening fire on these people."
Right. Yes, I am in a movie with a bunch of people who are dressed up like zombies. This could not possibly be a scene in the movie
Or
that
just
I am
with
just
them.
not involved in.
They're just going to start opening fire and just start throwing these bimbos out as sacrifices.
Oh my god, yeah, that is true. So, speaking of sacrifices, a good word choice, Slade.
What kind of sacrifices did you guys make to make this movie possible? I mean, as far as putting your life and job on hold to make this dream a reality.
Well, I mean, we didn't only put our life on hold; we put our life on the line.
Put our life
especially
in what's the word? We put our life in jeopardy.
Yeah, we could have been killed a few times.
Yeah, electrical,
foolishness.
Yeah, stupid.
Lack of sleep. Mm-hmm. Jolt Cola, circus peanuts as nutrition.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it was.
What did you put on hold to make this movie?
Well, at the time I was working for Comcast, so I was fortunate enough.
You had vacation time.
That I was able to schedule vacation time around
what a
the
vacation!
Movies. Oh yeah.
I also took vacation time. Were we shooting weddings at that time? Was I still shooting weddings?
Yes.
So I think I might have turned down a couple of weekend wedding jobs. Well, Tim's sacrifice, of course, was that, he self-invested, and that's a big enough
He had
investment.
jobs. Remember, he was working at Blockbuster for the longest time? Not everyone's cut out for it, that's for sure. I mean, we found that out.
Yeah, it's hard. You lose people quickly.
People bottom out.
Oh, my God.
In the worst possible way.
Well, because it asks a lot. You're committed. This is all that's happening in your life.
Yeah.
Remember, nothing else was going on.
Yeah.
Like, these were the days before cell phones, too, where there were no distractions. We're in a field. We're there for 2 days. We're sleeping in a camper. We're just in this.
Yeah.
This is all that's happening.
Yeah,
No distractions.
You have to go, like, on foot or in a car, find a phone to call your girlfriend, your wife, your mom, whatever.
If you wanted to get out of there, you had to walk out of there.
Yeah.
There's no Uber, no taxis to call if you could find a phone. You were stuck in this thing. So you either sucked it up or you just buckled and was like, fuck this, I can't do this. It's too hard.
Yeah.
As these zombies just encircle the trailer, he's throws the bimbos out as sacrifice. The zombies decide that, they don't even want them. They just run directly past them. And they can get a cut and get a really cool shot of the director screaming with his eyes gone. But I'm not entirely sure. I think they say that he says, "My vision." My vision as far as his vision for the film and being as his livelihood as a director are gone now. So
one of the things I thought was funny that I wrote down here during the commentary. So they did the commentary in 2010. This was not released till a couple years later, but one of them asked the other one, they were like, "Have you watched The Walking Dead on AMC?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's pretty good." And I was like, "No, I never heard of it." And this is like, it's only had probably been on for a couple months when they did this. So it was like, it's funny just to hear that. Like, yeah, have you seen that?
it's kind of a big deal now.
It's kind of a big deal.
A big deal.
So one of the things, before we get into the last segment, one of the things that Slade had a question about was Tim O'Rourke, the director of all of this. He wrote at least 3 out of 4 segments. He was definitely the mastermind behind this, and they continually refer to him as the go-getter, the one who had the ideas and the energy.
I noticed that Mr. O'Rourke only has Ghoul School and another film under his IMDb. Did he move on from filmmaking after that point? Or is it lacking information? Curious as to why he disappeared.
When Tim left New Jersey for L.A., his goal was to go out to L.A. and write scripts. Him and his wife. By then he was married.
By that time they were married.
So Tim went to L.A., stayed there 6 months. It was a massive earthquake in 91 or 92.
Oh, right.
The big one. Not the big one.
The big one.
He and Kathy were sleeping in their car because of the earthquake.
Oh, Jesus.
And then they said, F this, and they moved to Florida.
Yeah.
When he was in L.A., Tim wrote some scripts under his pseudonym that he sold that were made. Like one, I think is called Midnight Confessions. I think Julie Strain is in it. So he made like late night TV, like sexy noir.
Cinemax films?
Yeah.
Films,
so
as
he
we
wrote
used to
the
call them?
scripts under pseudonyms. So he never disappeared. He went and did other stuff.
Okay, so we've got the last segment, which is called Home Sweet Home, which happens to be my favorite of them, despite it probably being the one that caused the most issues with this film being shelved, because the vast majority of it is shot in a house with no power. So it is very, very dark, and there are very few scenes that are lit like extremely well. But I think that kind of, for me, that adds to it. It makes it just really dark and gritty. But we start off, and we've got this guy taking and driving out to a real estate agent's office, and he's got this inheritance from his father. And he's burning a hole in his pocket because he wants to take and be a great writer, and he needs a place for inspiration. So this is not his first trip to the real estate agent's office. She takes and brings out more houses for him to look at. And finally, in a big book
binder.
Yeah, who does that anymore? But he takes and is flipping through it, and he settles on one. He says, "I want this one. I want this house." And she's like, no, you don't want this house. He says, "Why? What's wrong with it?" He said, "Well, are you sure you want this house?" He's like, "Well, I guess you should know the history behind it before you take and buy it." Well, 6 years ago, there were disappearances of these young men and women around the town that started happening, and they tracked it all back to this house. And it was previously owned by a guy named Milford S. Burns, which is a great name.
Which, again, I was going to say, this reminds me of, like, The Simpsons, where they move into, like, that murder house, and the house, is just like, oh my God, we hate you. They can't stand The Simpsons. Like, and then they put that title or that name in, and it was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's great. And they say that this Milford S. Burns guy decided that he was going to take and turn his house into this sex dungeon.
A sadistic den of torture and sex.
Sadistic.
Sadistic.
Where he killed at least 22 people, or at least that's as many, what they estimate from the body parts that they found. So they never caught him either, and he possibly fled the country or killed himself inside the house. And this guy just not even.
Of course, they don't even like entertain the possibility that the guy just like is hiding in the house. But,
right.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. Or just gone somewhere, like skip town for a little bit and then take and come back, because this place has been abandoned for years. The locals will not go anywhere near it, like she says. But the guy's just like, man, fuck yeah, I want that house.
That would be me. I'm sorry, that would be me.
I'll take it. It's like, are you sure? It's like, where do I sign? This is awesome. And she says, well, it doesn't have any running water or power. He's like, don't care. I want it.
Yeah.
So...
I got beer. I don't care. I got beer and a flashlight. I'm going to go. Which, again, that would be me. I would just be like, nope, I consider it a challenge.
Yeah. Total fixer-upper. And get all that blood off the walls.
Flip that fucking house.
But we switch over to him in the house, and he's sitting there listening to the radio, and one of my favorite parts, which Mr. Fedele takes and makes his entrance, and he's a friend. I believe his name's Peter. Takes and tracks him down via the bitch real estate lady that he takes us in. And
which she seemed very delightful, actually. But
yes.
okay.
Yes, very like she was completely fine. Why are they calling him?
She was even trying to keep him from buying the fucking house.
Exactly. And they proceed to take and find a Jim Beam bottle and have some Jim Beam and sandwiches.
Sandwiches. Yep. See, you're making me like this segment more and more. The more you talk about it, the more I realize I have Jim Beam and sandwiches written down. Like, this is pretty good.
And what's really weird is he goes from talking about his dad beating the shit out of him, then recalling to how much he would love this place and just like actual warm feelings about it. I'm just like, you've got this really weird relationship with your deceased father that you need to kind of work out.
Okay, and then my favorite part, it cuts to, and it does this a few times, to this like stock footage of the moon. Like an outside scape.
Yeah,
like, it's so random.
Blowing.
And they do this like 3 or 4 times, and it's the same, like it's almost like a still picture of like outside and the moon. Like, just to let you know, it's nighttime.
Yes, but it's great. I think
yes, I love it.
It's great. And they wake up, he wakes up in the middle of the night, and his friends, Mr. Fedele, is like completely drunk, laying on the ground, and he's trying to wake him up because he's hearing sounds, and he gets really pissed off that he can't take and wake him up, so he goes, just takes and reaches his hands out and goes, "Motherfucker!" and walks out of the room and proceeds to leave his friend there. And then we get my favorite part of the entire film, where he takes and John Fedele is taking. I can't even, because it's just. He takes and comes back looking for his friend, and he's getting anally violated by a demon around the corner. It's just,
yes.
You see his hands up on, and just the demon's just going to town on him. You don't see the demon part; you just see his front half.
Yeah.
But it's just great. And then after that, he takes and proceeds to start bashing his head against the wall, and then we get a really cool practical shot of him just like collapsing the head open, and there's just the brain and this monster demon hands.
Yeah.
And,
worst anal ever.
yeah, not pleasurable at all. So, like, after that, we just abruptly cuts to his girlfriend. Sharon, I think.
I have down here, worst actress ever.
I don't know.
I know, she's just bad. But intentionally, I'm sure. But yes.
And evidently he thinks it's all a dream. So they're completely cool, and they have this romantic candlelight dinner in this dilapidated shithole house. And they decide it's a good time to have some sexy time, and then they go to sleep. But they wakes up in the middle of the night and decides he needs to go check the house. So for
like no real reason.
No real reason. There's no sounds or anything. But
he had a hankering for some ribs.
Yes. And he hears her screaming in the next room after he's left, and decides that they can come back, and he sees her hanging up from the ceiling, which I thought was really like the rib cage.
I like this, yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool, and
yeah. So her ribs are all exposed. That's why I made the rib joke, obviously. But she's still talking. She's like kind of elongated too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
like
you're right.
She's kind of been, but yeah.
Yeah, and he asks, "Who did this to you?" And she proceeds to tell him, "You did this to me." And then it's when he takes and realizes that when Milford S. Burns pops up again, decides to inform him that he's been possessed by this demon that takes over the house. So
right, it was not Milfred, whatever his name is. It was not his fault. He got possessed, and he's trying to warn him that he's too possessed, right?
Yeah, but damn, he killed 22 people.
I know, like so far, like his girlfriend's got her ribs exposed
before he decided.
Whatever.
22 people before he decided to off himself. He's only managed to get 2 so far. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with Milford with his 70s porn stash decides to take in and relate to him that you must kill yourself as I killed myself all those years ago to stop the
Right.
demon.
Right. 6 years later, I killed myself.
So we get another like Evil Dead moment where he takes and walks he walks into the bathroom, and Milford tells him to look at his reflection, and he sees that he in fact is possessed. So he takes and goes back to him and gets a shotgun off of him and decides to off himself. So he takes and goes in there, and all of a sudden his hand starts going all squirrely and takes and turns into this huge claw.
Gotta do an Ash.
So he takes and proceeds to chop it off, and then off himself, and roll credits on that one. They all will march into hell with the stock lava.
Sentinel.
Yeah, with the Sentinel with the stock lava footage, and that's
Yes.
campy goodness. Loved it.
Right. It's like, oh, Mount Hillawalla or whatever. like the Discovery Channel. Well, Discovery Channel probably wasn't anything back then. Maybe on my aunt's awesome satellite TV, maybe Discovery Channel was a thing.
Are there any stories or any fun facts about the movie that you might want to relate to those that would listen to our show?
Despite the misery of shooting the basement, both myself, you, John Fedele, and J.R. Bookwalter often talk about that camper.
Yes.
A night of just hilarious laughing when the camper, I'm surprised, didn't just sink into the ground of mud that we're in. It was just raining, but for whatever reason, I guess we were just punch drunk.
We were all in it. Oh, yeah. Long day, miserable rain, horrible conditions, equipment issues, personality issues. But, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger.
There was a very high level of camaraderie back in those
and
late
respect,
80s.
I guess.
Whereas JR would come out to bring lights and hang out and be in the movie. And then likewise, Tim and I would go to Ohio, and help out J.R. Bookwalter with his films.
Didn't you jump in a dirty river for one of his movies?
A polymorph. I didn't jump in. I got squibbed, and then I fell backwards into a river.
Final thoughts on The Basement? What is, if I had to say to you, give me 3 adjectives that would describe the experience you had on Basement, what would you use?
Extraordinary?
Yeah.
Shocking?
Those are kind of the same.
Okay. They're all going to be,
What about disappointing? Were you disappointed with the film at first?
Well...
And did you ever think it would come to life all these years later after humping around these moldy boxes of film?
No. So I guess the third one will be gutted. Like, oh my God.
Right.
Because you just limp back to your job.
Yeah.
My job at Comcast. I just limped back to that job.
Your dreams are shattered and you're back behind your desk.
And, as you know, those 20 or 25 days you spend, your energy is completely drained. When you get back to your real life, it's like you're shell shocked.
Yep. You have to reassimilate back to the real world.
Yeah.
Because you've been in this isolation and under intense conditions, and then all of a sudden you come back and everything's fine, and everything's the same as you left it, but except for you.
Yeah, it's a very small movie. Not many people know it even exists.
Of course,
but
is it even worthy of all this talk?
Well, it's part of my life. It's part of your life. So for us and for the the tens of people.
that loved the movie,
that saw it on DVD. How many lost films are there of this budget?
How many unfinished movies are sitting in camcorders and
I don't think there are that many of this scope.
Yeah. This was a pretty large scope, that's for sure.
So people thought it was fake until they started searching, and then the connections to JR. You ask around, you find, oh no, that's real.
So I don't think that we should rate these movies.
No.
Do you? Yeah, I don't think we should, because these are all, they kind of transcend, like, the numerical rating system. And aside from the fact that, well, we're going to tell you about 20 movies that we're going to talk about that we've already chosen. So I think we're already booked till the end of the year. So you can pretty much assume that all of these are a 10 out of 10, right? For us. I
Right.
mean,
And I hate ratings anyway. Like, I've never been a big fan of it because it's just like,
hate it.
oh, how can you compare, like, Citizen Kane to Redneck Zombies? I mean, I
Right.
freaking love Redneck Zombies, but, and I would say, it's a
Right.
10 out of 10 for me as far as fun factor goes, but, you know, I can't compare. I don't think it's fair to do that half the time.
No, and we have this argument on different strokes all the time. So I think on Facts of Life, we just won't have it. But it's almost like there needs to be a sliding scale or like asterisks. Like, this one gets a 10 for blah, blah, blah. You know, it's all about like the filmmaker's effort, their intention, you know, what they were trying to go for versus what you felt. I mean, there are just so many factors. And clearly, I think we can just say we love these movies.
Yes, and if you're a fan of shot on video, 8mm stuff like that, you totally probably already know about this. But if you don't, you are gonna like it.
Oh yeah, and actually, if you go, so we're gonna here we go, segue into the next segment, kids. So if you do happen to own or get the Basement big DVD set, so here's some of the movies and directors that we want to talk about in the upcoming weeks and months. So basically, we're going to tell you the ones that we're thinking. So if you have other ones to add to this very lengthy list, let us know. But this also gives you a chance to go try to find some of these movies, because some of these movies are not easy to find. Some of them have not made it to the light of DVD. Some of them maybe you can get in very expensive limited edition things, but you maybe can't get them now unless you find them on eBay. So that is a little bit of the tragedy of some of this stuff, but we will do our best to help you find these movies, right?
Yes.
At an affordable price.
Yep.
So the Basement set actually has, and we mentioned this before, it actually has 4 other films that were remastered by Camp. And so we have Video Violence 1 and 2 from Gary Cohen, which I guarantee is going to be one of the next things we do.
It's worth the price of admission by itself, in my opinion.
Yes. And then, so some of the other ones, John McBride is another shot on video director that we will be profiling. And we have The Wood Chipper Massacre, which I already mentioned, but also Cannibal Campout is one of his films that's on this set. So I'm sure we will be talking about those, right?
Amazing box art. Very iconic of those days.
Yes. So, the Polonia brothers, sadly, one of the Polonia brothers is not with us anymore. That would be John, but Mark is still. And so we actually have, both of us have the camp, the camp version of Splatter Farm. So looking forward to listening to the commentary. I just personally purchased Channel 13 from SRS Entertainment because I was looking at something else and I saw that.
I'm jealous. I haven't seen that yet.
And shout out to my friends from Skeletons from the Closet. Channel 13. Fuck yeah. Yeah. So this is, I know we just sound like we're doing a list here, but Ron Bonk has been an awesome, he's an awesome director. He actually directs a lot of things now. He did She Kills, House Shark. You probably heard me talk about those. So we have to feature some of his early work. What do you have anything in particular you would want to watch from Ron?
I'm not sure. Like if you haven't seen She Kills, you need to.
Yes.
Like everybody,
right.
everybody's
that is not
listening.
shot on video. That's from like 2017. But oh my god,
right?
That movie. Oh my god, I cannot recommend it enough.
It's
Love
great.
it. But yeah, I was thinking like City of the Vampires is probably his, his shot on video crowning achievement. Don't you think? That we'll probably have to. To visit.
Yeah, for sure.
Another one that you sent me that I said I had never heard of. Well, I had heard of, but I think only you for the reason, was the movie 555.
Yes. Massacre Video is doing wonderful work in bringing a lot of these shot on video classics back up, and it's something. It's mostly remembered because of its glorious pink VHS cover with the decapitated head.
And I looked everything up. Like, most of the people who worked on that did nothing else, right? Am I right? Like, the director, the actors, I mean, like,
as far as I know.
As far as, like, their IMDb, I mean, I'm sure they did other things. I'm sure all of them are, like, selling real estate and teaching and whatever.
Yeah, nothing that's
I always want to... Yeah, I always want to make sure that when we say that somebody didn't ever do anything again, we just mean in the filming realm.
Yeah, we don't want to be disrespectful to anybody's body of work.
Well, and not even their body of work. I mean, most of these people, this is not something that they even thought was going to be a career.
Right.
Or did they even intend to? So, I mean, all of them are probably happily doing jobs like the rest of us, and it's fine. One that I did not realize that was shot on video, and we are going to have to find this, is Fangoria Weekend of Horrors. It makes sense that it was shot on video because it was from 85, 86, and basically Fangoria magazine did a profile of their first convention that they had. And I am a huge fan of horror conventions, obviously.
Yep.
Have you seen that one?
I have not. We've
got to find that because it's like, I mean, if you look at, even within analog horrors, there is a poster for, not for the movie, but for the actual convention itself. And it's like, it's got Michael Berryman and like Cassandra Peterson, Elvira, and it's like, it's the grassroots. If you love conventions, like, it looks like this is the grassroots of conventions. So we have got to find this.
Yeah, something like the Gold Gorgon videos. You remember those? Yes. Like the preview videos?
Oh,
love those.
Yes. Love those. You know what? You need to come to Days of the Dead in Louisville.
I'm thinking about it. Money's a little tight at the moment.
Huh?
Money's a little tight at the moment.
Oh, okay. But, we got to figure that out. And maybe that's when we could do on-site together. We could do the Fangoria convention one.
Yeah, we could. I'm gonna look into it. Hopefully we can take and do it. It's end of next month, right?
Yeah, I'll see what I can do about press passes.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Okay, then of course we cannot do any of this shit without our friend Todd Sheets. So I already hit him up. He's gonna see what he can do, is what he told me. That we wanted to watch Moonchild and Violent New Breed. So those are older. He has actually sent us quite a few digital downloads of movies, but they've been the newer ones. And he sends those very freely. Not like he sends them to everybody, but I mean, we've supported him and interviewed him and promoted some things, so don't think that you can just email Todd Sheets and get everyone's movie.
Hey, I like your stuff. Can I see your movies?
Hey, we're Dreaming Purple Neon. Can I get that for free? Yeah, but we will try to do those too. Dark Harvest was another that you sent to me. It has an alternate title. Like, is it Blood Harvest or Bloody Harvest?
I can't recall at the moment, but good lord,
because one of those is an alternate title, one of those is another movie, which always happens.
I really I've watched that film twice now, and I still don't quite understand what's going on. It's kind of wonderfully bonkers with the scarecrows in it. I think that you'll find some things to take away from it that you'll like.
And people, there is not as much scarecrow shit out there that there should be.
No.
I mean, there really isn't, because scarecrows, they're terrifying. I mean, that's their whole point, right? They're supposed to scare the crows. I
think there's more people wearing scarecrow like burlap sack masks like scarecrows than are actually scarecrow movies. So
yeah. I mean, you go back to everybody's scared of clowns, blah blah blah. But I mean, really, were any of us scared of clowns that much before the movies came out? But scarecrows, they're just inherently scary.
Yeah, just fucking
they're
creepy.
They're humanoid, weird, creepy things. Yeah. Anyway. So then Tim Ritter, I've hit him up, because, and Bill Casanelli, who's worked on some of the stuff. So we both own Truth or Dare, which is one of the preeminent shot on video films, I would say. And then Truth or Dare 2, which is really called Wicked Games, because Madonna's Truth or Dare, I think, was coming out the same time. And they didn't know if they could use it or not. But basically, it's Truth or Dare 2. And Bill Casanelli worked on that. And so I'm going to use my pool. We're going to use our pool, right?
Yeah.
Our pool with Bill. We just got a message from Tim Ritter. I had sent him my podcast is starting a spinoff devoted to shot on video. Would you be willing to let us pick your brain? ... And he just texted us back and said, sure, whatever you want to do. Just let me know when you're ready and we can try to get a good time for all. Always an honor.
Awesome.
Okay, maybe now
Love you, Tim.
Maybe his movies got bumped up a little bit.
Maybe just a little.
We also have Killing Spree.
Yes, Killing Spree.
Which is another camp release that we have.
Yes, thank you, Michael, for making all these wonderful films come to DVD.
Yes, because we did not know until this interview that he was responsible for the camp retro 80s movies, and these are great movies. So it's like keep them coming. And,
yes, please.
And and they don't have to be big sets. They really don't. Like just having a little bit of extras, having some commentary, totally worth it. I don't even care if they're like remastered. They can be, because I never watched any of this stuff. Like
we just want access to them without having to pay several $100s for the VHS.
Right, or having to like watch them for free on YouTube, which I hate doing. But if I can't,
give us
if I
the
don't
opportunity.
have access to something, yes, if I don't have access to something and I want to promote something or talk about something, then I will. But I don't like doing that. Redneck Zombies is probably it is probably one of the most recognizable of the shot on video movies because it was distributed by Troma. We did do it on In the Mic of Madness. I will probably put a link below, and we did that at the request of said Slade Shepard.
Yeah, I was about to say, who's the sicko that recommended that one?
It's a great one.
Love it.
Yeah, and then we already mentioned Donald Farmer. So Savage Vengeance, which is a I Spit on Your Grave unofficial sequel, has Camille Keaton and Cannibal Hookers. I already mentioned that too. I don't even know if I've ever seen that, but
I don't think I've seen it either.
I wanna see. There we go. There's one. Oh, there's one we can just like
track down.
Watch anew together. And then some of the other ones that we had from other requests. Boarding House, which Boring House, according to Slade.
I watched the 3-hour director's cut. It's just it's a slog. No disrespect, but that the original, like, don't watch the director's cut, people. Watch the original one.
Well, yeah, watch something pared down, and of course that is the first what's known as the first shot on video film, and also what Jason Smith will jump in on the podcast for. Sledgehammer, which is one that we've talked about that I've wanted to see again forever, which might be our next one.
Yeah, I'd like to do Sledgehammer. It was like it's more enjoyable than Boarding House to me. It's got a lot of cool scenes, and
it was really the second, right? It's considered the second one, right?
It was like the Boarding House got brought to theaters and had a lot of money behind it, but like Sledgehammer was unofficially the first one made for the home video market. So Blood Cult takes and claims that, but from what I understand, Sledgehammer was like the one for that, and it's more entertaining. Like it's pretty good. I like it. It's good. Little slasher.
Again, there are so many gray areas that we don't do gray. We don't care. We're lenient. So I also have to do, and I just mentioned this on our Unearthed Films group, Gore Horror, because well, that's the name of my reviews. That is what I love to call myself. So we'll have to do that. It's like 93. Eric Stantz, Savage Harvest, which is another one that Slade is chomping at the bit to do.
Love that, and Ice from the Sun. Both of them are great.
So you're gonna have to send me links on how I can get those.
Okay.
Yeah. And this one is a not shot on video, but is mistaken as being shot on video, and I will get it to you because it never made it to DVD. And it's a movie called Lunch Meat. Have you seen that?
I have. It's been ages, though. Oh, it's been ages.
Yeah, that was one that I rented a lot. And the whole thing was that it was actually shot on film, but it was sent back and processed on video.
Yeah.
So, again, leniency, we don't care, because it looks like it was shot on the shittiest camera you could have possibly gotten, but it's a great one. Are there any others I'm like forgetting? I mean, that was kind of the list that we came up with.
Just ones off the top of our head. Yeah, I mean, Zombie Gourmet Chef is one that sticks with me like hard, just because the VHS cover is amazing. I mean, there's so many. Las Vegas Massacre. God, I can't remember the name of it currently, but yeah, that's the one that I've wanted to take and actually track down the VHS like cut, because the DVD one is just all kinds of extra footage and cut to pieces. So, which I found out recently, which is lame. So I want to take in.
Right. I mean, you don't want you want the extra stuff, but you want the intact what you watched.
Yeah, it's Las Vegas Bloodbath or
Bloodbath, I think.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Yep.
Well, let me consult my shot on video Bible here.
Let's bring out this big book.
Yes. So if you don't have this book, I'm going to plug it one more time. And here I will tell you, yes, it is Las Vegas Bloodbath. You're right. Okay. It is called Analog Nightmares, the shot on video horror films of 1982 to 1995.
Fantastic book.
Mogg. Great book. It details every released shot on video movie from those times, has interviews with a lot of the people that we just we're talking about. So I believe there's one from Ron Bonk. There's an 3 or 4 page like Tim Ritter interview, Mark Polonia. You just go through here and you look at there's actually an index for all the movies, but there's an index for all the directors, and of course Todd Sheets is probably the one that's got the longest
yes, and many thanks to the author for compiling all these. It's great to have it as a resource.
Yes, it is, and it's and there isn't a lot of guidance on how to get some of these movies, but then again, that all changes from day to day anyway. So, a lot of people in here that, in a lot of movies that, I started going through some of this when I was making this list, and then I was like, I gotta stop, because otherwise we'll just be talking about this all night.
Which is okay.
Well,
not for the listeners, 4 hour long.
Yes, and it is generally okay, but yes, this one will probably be lengthier than, I don't know that it'll be lengthier than most. I think we can tackle 2 movies at a time. Possibly.
Yeah.
Like Linnea Quigley's Horror Workout. Gotta find that one. Oh my god. Yes. Oof. Yeah. Some really good ones. But yeah. So go watch The Basement, find it. And if you don't have it, like we're told in the fall, it will be on DVD by itself.
Yep.
Great movie, and watch some of the ones that we have mentioned here, and tell us which other ones you remember that you want us to watch.
Yes, absolutely. We always need more movies.
No.
Well, maybe not. Our watch list is crazy long right now. So.
Oh my God! You saw it. I sent that to you. After going to Days of the Dead. And then he sent me stuff. And then I already had a couple movies. I was Thursday, I was I can just sit down and watch a movie. That doesn't have to do with anything. No podcast, no videos, blah, blah, blah. And I'm I don't know what to watch. And it was it's literally about a 2-foot tall stack of DVDs. I don't know what to do.
And again, if you're looking for a place to take and pick up The Basement, it's available at alternativecinema.com, and I'm sure that the standalone release will be through there. And also, if you get the chance and you love film, be sure to take and check out Michael Raso's film photography project. It's at filmphotographyproject.com. He does a podcast there, really insightful. You should check it out.
And we're told if you want to talk to John Fedele, then you just need to talk to Michael Raso, because John is off the grid. He does not do the social.
Yes, thank you to both of them for taking the time out. It was
thank you guys. I mean, it was awesome. They were so thorough about giving us so much more than we even got from the commentary, which the commentary has so much. So I look forward to talking to those guys too, like in the future for other projects, and especially now that we know that Michael is responsible for all the camp things. I think we'll have a nice little relationship with him.
Yep, hope so. Hope you like the cast, Michael.
And if you don't, well,
oops.
Then
sorry.
You suck.
Sorry.
All right, guys, have a good night.
Bye.